Hi everyone, my name is Jared. I'm a bookseller here at Capital Books, and we're celebrating the release of Joshua Henkin's latest novel, Morningside Heights. So Morningside Heights is released June 15th, and it's also been named the #1 pick on the Indie Next list for June. Joshua has written several other novels, including 2012's The World Without You, which was a finalist for the National Jewish Book Award. So let's jump right into the questions. Thank you so much for being here with us, Joshua. Thank you for sending me the advanced reader copy of Morningside Heights. I had a chance to read it, and I very, very much enjoyed it. So I would like to give you the chance to actually talk about what this book is about. So, in your own words, what is Morningside Heights about?
Morningside Heights is about a long marriage and how the characters struggle with adversity and how they move forward with humor and grace during tough times.
What inspired you to write Morningside Heights? Was there anything going on in your own life that prompted the creation of this book?
Like Spence, the husband in Morningside Heights, my father developed Alzheimer's. My father was a professor at Columbia, and it was very tough for my brothers and me and for my mother to see him go through what he went through. And so in some ways that was the inspiration for the book, is how the other characters deal with someone they love having a very hard disease.
Take the time to develop each character in Morningside Heights. Most books don't take the time to develop each characters in the way that you did. Why did you decide to do this? Is there a main character in this book?
For me, fiction is about character. My mom tells a story that when I was a toddler, she used to pick me up because I had to look into every store on Broadway. And that's what I think novelists are like, we're gossips. And so it's very important to me to develop each character. I want my readers, they don't have to like the characters, but they need to feel like the characters are real. And I want them to be able to feel like when they're done with the book, that they know the characters as well as or better than the people in their own lives.
Do you have a favorite character in Morningside Heights? Are there any characters that were more like you than others? Are there any characters that were very different from you?
No, I don't have a favorite character in Morningside Heights. I don't believe you choose among your children. I love them all the same.
Morningside Heights features characters of all different backgrounds. Is it difficult telling the stories of people who are very different from you? Is it difficult telling the stories of people who are very much like you? Can you talk a little bit about the process of telling these stories?
It's always tough to write about characters who are different from you, but that's the novelist's job. If I were only writing about myself, I'd get bored and the reader would be bored. And so the key is to try to tell other people's experiences truthfully as possible. And certainly when you're telling people's experience who come from a different culture from you, that's even more of a challenge, and you have to be extra careful to get it exactly right. But no matter whom you're writing about, you have to get it right. That's the novelist's job.
The Jewish identity is central to the story of Morningside Heights. The two main characters, Prue and Spence, have to navigate their Jewish identity in their professional life and their personal life and in their marriage. How does this identity shape how Prue and Spence show up in the world and in their marriage?
Jewish identity is very central to the book, in large part because I grew up in a traditional Jewish home, so that's a world I know. My own background is so suffused with Jewish ritual that for me, everything about the clock was about Jewish ritual. When the Sabbath started, when it stopped. And apparently when I was 6 or 7 years old, and we were moving the clock forward for daylight savings time, I said to my parents, do non-Jews move the clock forward too?
One of the main stories in Morningside Heights is the story of Spence. Spence is a writer, he's a professor whose identity is really tied to his profession. Spence is actually diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I really just want to know, why was this an important story for you to tell?
It wasn't important for me to tell the story with someone with Alzheimer's, but because I knew it well because of my father, I thought it would be interesting to tell that story. In a lot of ways, the book really isn't Spence's story. It's Prue's story, it's the other character's story, and I was interested in writing about the other characters and how they deal with the disease as opposed to writing about the disease itself.
Another major storyline of Morningside Heights is the story of Prue. Prue is a devoted wife, she's a mother, and she is a Jewish woman who is navigating the loss of her husband and also the desire for her to have a love and care. How does Prue's identity and belief system shape how she navigates this reality?
I think Prue's belief system helps her navigate what's a very tough situation. You know, she was brought up in a traditional Jewish home, but she's really left the fold. And so I think she misses that and she goes back to synagogue. But I think she also really relies on her friends, on her daughter, in some ways even on her stepson to try to get through things. And I think she has a certain kind of core perseverance that allows her to move forward in what's really a very tough time for her.
Several scenes in Morningside Heights take place at a bookstore. The book often feels like a love letter to bookstores. It also explores someone's journey and struggle learning how to read. Why was this story important for you to tell?
Yes, I do think Morningside Heights is in a way a kind of love song to bookstores. My father used to stock all his books at the local independent bookstore. My brother worked at an independent bookstore for years. I should have gotten paid by an independent bookstore just for the amount of time I spent there, although I wasn't an actual employee. And so it makes sense to me that Arlo works in a bookstore. This is a novel that's very much about books, and books are housed in bookstores.
Why is Morningside Heights important and relevant to today's society? Is there anything that you want to share with your readers that you hope that they walk away with after reading this book?
I think Morningside Heights is relevant today because it's a book about a long marriage, and many people are married, and it's about characters and about relationships and family relationships. And it's also about a disease that's very prevalent. And I hope the book provides some inspiration for people who are scared of this disease, because it is a scary disease, but it's also a disease that people manage to make the most of. And so in that sense, it feels like a very timely book.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Joshua. Is there anything else you would like to share about your book, Morningside Heights?
I just want to say how thankful I am to independent bookstores for supporting my book. It's meant so much to me to have the book read by people who care about books as much as people who work in independent bookstores do.
Thank you for everyone who's been watching as we've been celebrating the release of Morningside Heights by Joshua Henkin. The book will be released June 15th. You can pick up your copies here at Capital Books or at your local independent bookstores. Thank you so much, everyone, and we hope you enjoy this book.